This video demonstrates how to remove and replace the hinge pivot on your Clicgear cart. This is going to take about 45 minutes to complete along with watching the video, so please have that time available. So you'll need tools for this. You'll need some pliers, a Phillips screwdriver, a 10mm socket or open end or box end wrench, and a 19mm socket or box end or open end wrench. It'd be great if you had an extension for the socket as well. You may need a rubber hammer, but probably not. But if you have one, you can have one around just in case. Okay, let's get started. First, what we're going to do is remove the wire cap from the end of the brake wire. Simply put the pliers on it, twist, and pull it off. Okay, so now we're going to remove the front wheel very easily. Take the 19mm socket, loosen up that nut, and unscrew the nut with your hand, pull it off, and then remove the front wheel. Make sure that you keep the washer with the front wheel. Okay, so now we're going to remove the cable nut assembly from the end of the brake. First, depress the brake hammer to relieve tension on the line. Then with your 10mm socket, unscrew the nut, let the cable pass through the cable nut assembly, take the cable nut assembly off, then pull out the sheath and the threaded adjustment bolt off of the line. Okay, so we're now going to loosen the screw that holds the cable sheath in place. I'll need you to flip the cart over onto its back, and then underneath the handle that says pull is a screw. Simply loosen that enough that we're able to pass the sheath through freely. We're now going to remove the handle from the cart. In order to do that, you need your Phillips screwdriver, and you'll need to remove the small screw within the knob. There'll be two washers on that screw. Make sure that they're together. Once you have those out, go ahead and remove the knob from the bolt, and then pull the bolt out from the other side, and remove the handle and its contents and lay that down on the ground. We're now going to remove the hinge pivot. This is very easy to do. Just use the Phillips screwdriver and unscrew the two bolts. Make sure that you get the nuts on the other side and pull those bolts out and remove the hinge pivot. Okay, well now we're going to replace the hinge pivot. Simply do the opposite of what we just did. Put the hinge pivot on, line it up to the holes, slide the bolts through, and screw the nuts onto the bolts. Okay, so now we're going to replace the handle. So get the handle and the bolts, slide the handle up on, take a look and try to align the holes, then slide the bolt through, screw on the knob. Then you'll use the screw with the two washers. Don't over tighten that screw. Go ahead and screw that on and then raise the handle up. Okay, so we're now going to prepare the brake cable and sheath for reinserting into the main tube. So raise the handle up to its upper point. Then now you can raise the brake handle, and that'll give you access to the top of the brake cable. And then when you have the brake cable, grab the sheath at the bottom, and then you're going to pull on the top of the brake cable so the end of the brake cable just touches the end of the sheath. We're now going to slide the brake sheath through the main tube of the cart. So there's a slot right at the top and base of that. Slide it through, and then it will come out the bottom, but you may need to raise it up and down a few times to find the hole, and then it'll slide right through. After it comes out that hole, go ahead and feed the rest of the line through there, and just keep extending it through the tube. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the top of the cart again, and we're going to reinsert the cable end into the brake handle. So put it back into that slot and then wiggle it until it seats all the way into the center, and slide the slack out and drop the brake handle back down. Okay, so we're now going to slide the brake cable and sheath through the 2 loops on the lower post and then lay the cart back onto its handle. Okay, so we're now going to reassemble the brake. Slide the cable nut assembly over the brake cable, then depress the brake hammer, slide the cable through the slot, put the cable nut assembly back in, pull on the line and the adjustment and sheath, get it all taut, and then use your 10mm wrench to screw the nut back on. It's now time to adjust the brake. First thing we need to do is insert the wheel back onto the cart. So thumb tighten the nut onto the bolt, and then you'll need your 10mm socket with extension. You'll need to depress the brake hammer, and then once you depress the brake hammer, loosen that nut. Okay, so now grab the cable line with your fingers and pull it, then grab your pliers, pull all the slack out of the line, keep the brake hammer depressed, and slightly release the brake hammer until you hear a click. When you hear the light click, you're ready to go ahead and retighten the cable nut assembly. So tighten that nut, and your brake is now properly adjusted. You can now set the cart back upright on all 3 wheels. Okay, we're getting close. I'm going to go ahead and retighten that wheel with the 19mm socket. And then you're going to take your pliers and the end cap for the wire, for the brake wire. Stick the end cap on and crimp it down towards the end on the lower part onto the wire. Okay, so now we want to get the slack right on the cable sheath. So go to the top, release the handle, and you want to pull out enough sheath where it can pass the handle freely as it's lowered. So just enough where it passes it very freely up on top. Okay, final step. Flip the cart over, and below the handle that says pull, we're going to retighten that screw. So tighten it down until you feel it against the cable sheath, and you're done. Congratulations. I hope you found this video helpful, and for more informative videos and all of our great products, visit clicgearusa.com.